Well, folks, one thing that we have learned this week is that MAGA is not the party of free speech. And everything that they said about free speech is absolute and total bullshit. That's what we've learned. Another thing that we know is that they are not the rule of law party. And you can't be the rule of law party when you have a president who breaks the law. Really, you can't be the rule of law party when you have a president who says the words out loud that he has to have immunity in order to be able to do his job. Immunity is something that the mob asks for. Immunity is something you see on a Better Call Saul episode or an episode of Sons of Anarchy, not the presidency of the United States. But I would argue that you can't be the rule of law party when you have a president who says out loud that I have to have immunity from the law. And you also can't be the rule of law party when you I'll talk here right here in a minute. When you pardon violent criminals, you can't be. And Jasmine Crockett right here brings this point across and just really takes it to them. This is one of the best clips that I've seen from her. They're always fire from her, but this one, folks, is absolutely on fire. Take a look.
To shake down people as it relates to the First Amendment, because he has filed not one lawsuit, not two lawsuits, but he has filed numerous lawsuits. He filed a lawsuit against the New York Times. He filed one against the Wall Street Journal, against CBS, against ABC, against the Des Moines Register. He is doing all of this because he wants to quash any speech that is not appreciative or lauding him, which is pretty much anything that's factual. So let's talk a few facts about these January 6th felons that should still be incarcerated because they went through the process, but because they were doing things on his behalf, of course, he wanted to let them go. So they released more than 1,000 people who participated in the insurrection on this government, many of whom who had previous criminal records, like Mr. Theodore Mendenforth, who was convicted of predatory criminal sexual assault of a child, or Mr. Peter Schwartz, who had 38 prior convictions, including one where he beat his wife by repeatedly punching and biting her. Trump also pardoned Mr. David Daniel, who was convicted of production and possession of child pornography. Trump also pardoned Mr. Daniel Ball, who, quote, threw an explosive device that detonated upon at least 25 officers during the Capitol riot. He also had a record for, quote, domestic violence by strangulation. I'm not done. Trump also pardoned Mr. Andrew Taki, who sent nudes to an undercover law enforcement officer who was posing as a 15-year-old girl. Mr. Casey Hopkins also received a pardon from Trump, and Mr. Hopkins was convicted of forcible rape. According to court records, he, quote, had forcible intercourse with the victim, choked her to the point of impairing her vision, banged her head into a wall, and urinated into the victim's mouth as he humiliated her. These are the people that he decided to release in the streets of D.C. So if anybody does need to clean up D.C., I would agree it is this man, because he is the one that is causing half the crime that we have. Not only is he participating in the crime, but we know that he instigated the insurrection. And if I did say that I had one issue with the Biden-Harris administration, it is the fact that they did not move forward and make sure that this man was put where he should have been put. Because the last time I checked as a criminal defense attorney, and Mr. Attorney General, you may have a different experience, but I never had a defendant that had 34 convictions for felonies and did not spend one day in jail. Never in my life. And the last time I checked, the party of law and order is the only one that decided that they would be out of order and decided to nominate someone who was not only indicted but was actually convicted of multiple felonies. That has never happened in this country, and it is a shame that we are dealing with it now, and now he wants to tell y'all how to do your jobs.
Okay.
Yeah, that was absolute fire, and it was absolute truth. And we've never seen anything like this. But what we're seeing is a country that exists for Donald Trump, and then a country that exists for the rest of us. And folks, I know there's a whole lot of people out there that have had criminal charges brought. I know there's a lot of people that have went to court. A lot of people spent time in jail. I would ask you, did you come close to getting away with whatever crime you committed? Was you able to just walk away from it and get off scot-free? Trump was, and it's because of his wealth, and it's also because of his politics and the fact that people were willing to let this man slide. They were willing to believe that everything against him spoken by any critic was fake news. They thought the whole thing was phony and bullshit, but what they need to understand, and this is why that I have spoke so loudly against those pardons for the January 6th, Forget for a minute what they did on January 6th. Those were the type of people, the people she was talking about in that clip, those are the kind of people that showed up to fight on Donald Trump's behalf. Those are the kind of people that he spoke to. And those people got pardons. Those people were absolutely pardoned and made into heroes, made into cult heroes by the MAGA cult. Donald Trump changed the words of the damn national anthem and sang along with those people. They've been made into heroes. They've been made into victims. And we have found ourselves being gaslit this entire time. And I know I use the word gaslight a lot. I get tired of using it. But I don't know no other word to use to describe it. We were sitting there watching the events unfold on January 6th. And I remember as I sat there and watched it, I have to own it, I was naive. I said to my mom, who as we watched on in horror, I said, well, this proves exactly everything we ever said about Donald Trump and his cult. This proves what kind of people they are. And the only silver lining that I can see, I said this back then, I said, the only thing I can see is this exposes them for who they are. There's no way they're going to be able to defend this. There's no way he's going to be able to spin this. We've got him now. We have him. And we didn't. And I'm with Jasmine Crockett. That is my biggest gripe with the Biden and Harris administration. I think Joe Biden was a great president. I have the utmost respect for Joe Biden and his family. But I got to be brutally honest with you. If you want me to know where he disappointed me the most, it's when the Supreme Court gave presidents immunity and then Biden walked out and said, well, everybody, it's time to vote. It would have been a great point to go, you know what? I've got immunity now and we're going to go for this criminal. Right there was the moment in time that something should have been done differently. But Joe Biden was a person who believed in the rule of law, and I respect that. Who also, I believe, was naive in the sense that he believed enough in the American people that they would pull us through it. But we saw them turn the J6ers into heroes. And when you sit there and listen to the crimes that these people already had on their record before they showed up on January 6th, I just want to drive this point home. Those are the type of people that Donald Trump resonated with then, and they all got pardons. And there's people, and a lot of them went right back to jail once they got the pardon. A lot of them, I've covered it here on the channel, turned right around and broke the law again because that's the kind of people they were, and you will never hear MAGA call them out. You will never hear them criticize them. And then a lot of people will just sit back and say, oh, well, they were upset that day. You would never get away with that in this world. And I promise you, you wouldn't get away with a whole lot less in this world. Especially if you ever spoke against Donald Trump, because he's saying now that that's illegal to speak against him. For networks to speak against him, that's illegal. So we managed to elect a convicted felon 34 times. That's never happened before. I can't say with confidence that it will never happen again. I can't say that to you. Because we were all naive in the sense that we thought people would be able to see through it. We thought there were more reasonable people in this world. But there was a whole lot of people on election day that stayed home because they weren't paying attention like you and me. They weren't sitting here watching this stuff like you and me. They were just going about their day, looking at the grocery bill, and yes, it was high. They were struggling, and I will absolutely acknowledge that they were struggling, 100%. But they sat back, and the things I would hear people, the apolitical people say that never, really follow politics out here and say, yeah, I heard they are going after Trump. I heard they're going after him. No, it wasn't they that was going after him. He did these things right out in the open. January 6th happened live on television. We all watched it. And then we sat back for years being told, oh, it was a pep rally. It was a day of love. We had a great time that day. And they would roll a clip. Watch this. Watch them let them walk in. I can't count the times I would see Joe Rogan going, did you see that, Jamie? Jamie, pull that up. Wow, did you see him just let them walk in? And I'm over here going, yeah, the only reason they're walking in with those Confederate flags is because if they were black people walking in, they would have never made it past the gate. And we all know that deep down. We all know deep down that if that had been a group of black people mad at Trump and they charged the Capitol like that, anybody that thinks they would have made it past the first gate is delusional. And those are the type of people that got pardons. And then we got to sit back and hear them say, oh, we backed the blue. They didn't back the blue on January 6th, and you can't back the blue and support pardoning those type of sick, deranged people. Were there people there on January 6th that had no part in the violence? Yes. Was there people there on January 6th, I'm sure, that went, whoa, this thing got out of hand, I didn't mean to have no part in this, and backed up? Absolutely. But the ones that went forward and the ones that carried it out, they should still be set behind bars today, because none of the rest of us would ever be able to get away with anything even half that. It's bullshit. And we will continue to call it out as bullshit. We can't sit back and let them normalize and same-wash everything. And I'm just going to tell you straight up, the mainstream media is what let us down more than anything in this country. I truly do believe, and I lay a big chunk of the blame on the mainstream media, because they same-washed it. They glossed over it. They put all the attention on all the wrong things. While Joe Biden was running the country, yes, he was aging before our eyes. He was getting old, but he was a man that was still doing his job. He was a man who was still rolling up his sleeves and getting things done. And we had just come out of one of the worst years ever. We had just come out. We were still in the pandemic, and he was trying to bring us through it. We all recognized that. And we were saying, hey, hold on a second. He's got a mess to clean up here. But then it was just they're going after Trump. And that's what led us back here. And to all the people that said, I don't think he'd do that. I don't think they'd let him do that. Whenever someone says that, I know that they were never paying attention. That's your way of letting me know you weren't paying attention. More people's going to have to start paying attention. And if we actually do have a midterm, which I highly doubt we'll ever get to, but if we actually get there and have a free and fair election, I don't think he will ever accept the results. He didn't then. Why would he now? But we're going to have to get out and vote and at least try one last time. I can't believe we're here. But I will never, ever let them call themselves the rule of law party. I'll never let them call themselves the free speech party, because what we've learned over the last week is they were full of shit. We always knew they were. We always knew. But if you ever had one shredded out, or if you was ever going to give them one benefit of the doubt, that's gone now. They're not the rule of law party. Don't ever let them say it.